Okay, Monday, February 26, 2024. How time is flying. It's been 51 days as a parent. Feels like years now. You gotta go. I was calculating that I think there's something like 7,544 days or something in 18 years. I don't know exactly. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. But the thought is, like, there's several thousands of days that you're, until your kid is 18. And you have to go through every one of those days one by one. There's no like Netflix here where you can skip ahead, or no YouTube recap, where you can just jump through. You got to take each day one at a time, each hour, even each minute. You get some sleep. The baby is now getting into a sleep cycle. She sleeps like in 3 and 4 hour blocks at night. Pretty well, actually. There's a lot of crying before she goes to sleep. And then once the crying is over, she's out cold and everything. And this pattern is starting to evolve, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's something you can set a watch by. Definitely not that. So, yeah, and during that time, during some of that downtime, it took I didn't get it in one shot, but I watched the Jason Statham movie, the Beekeeper. It took me like, I could do it in like 30, 40 minute bursts, and maybe the last hour, something like that. I got like, I don't know, I got done. That was a goal I had this weekend, actually, to watch that movie. I like Jason Statham movies. I mean, he just goes around beating everything up, sharks, whatever, bad guys. But this movie was, I'll give you my review. Okay, so he's this dude in a secret program, like even above like tier 1 black ops or CIA or something. It's probably like the modern version of the Knights of the Round Table. They are like have an oath to the society versus the person to uphold the institution. So he's probably like a knight exemplar or something like this, descendant of King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table, and they're called Beekeepers. And scam callers caused his landlord. There was this old lady that he was renting from. They scammed her, and it scammed her so bad she committed suicide. And then, of course, he's really angry, and he tracks down the perpetrators. And so in this series of this movie, I don't want to give it all away, but he beats up the Italian mafia, like just walks in and, takes out the mafia, chops their fingers off. And there's some pretty cool scenes. I mean, I have to admit, his movies, they really let you escape. It's like, so like without any effort, right? And then after that, they call in like ex-SEAL Team 6 Delta Force guys, and he beats them all up. And then he beats up the FBI. The FBI is out looking for him. So he beats all of them up. And then he works his way up. It's like a video game. I call like these video game movies. He just keeps going up the level, and he beats up the Secret Service, all like, because he's working his way up to the president's son. And, the president's son is like a cokehead in this movie, scamming people, running all these scam centers. It's it's like a younger version of I think they were trying to make the president was like a female version of Donald Trump, and the son was like a teenage, or I'd say 20-something version of Steve Bannon. So there was definitely some hidden codes in this movie. But yeah, so he beats up Secret Service, then he beats up some, probably British SAS, ex-SAS guys. And one of them was also was able to have killed a beekeeper. Oh, and he takes out another one of these super agents, a beekeeper, and she shoots at him with a minigun and machine gun and all this stuff, and he takes her out with a jar of honey, throws a jar of honey and hits her in the head, and then sets her on fire. So I mean, and he's at the end of the movie, he's only got like a scratch on his arm, you know. So yeah, just like the Meg movies where he's, you know, fighting with great white sharks. Saying, you know, and this guy is like, you know, he's I think around my age, you know, so it gives me hope, you know, when I watch movies like this. I think Jason Statham is like 56, you know, and everything. So I guess maybe I'd take a few martial arts classes, you know, and I can just go and beat up the whole Russian army or something, you know. But it's a good movie. I would say, like, if you want to turn your brain off and just go somewhere else, and there's some really nice martial arts, nice visual scenes, like you know, it's cool. You know, they have all the generic stock characters, as they call them. Yeah, so it was a nice film. I would highly recommend it. I mean, unless you're really trying to see a realistic movie, probably then I don't recommend it. But if you're familiar with Jason Statham movies, The Mechanic and The Mechanic Returns or something like that, and all his movies, it's pretty good, you know. So now what else we want to talk about is Russian influence on social media. You know, I'm on social media, you know, like during work and stuff, between meetings, and you see all these posts and discussions going on. But, you know, one thing I've really given some thought, and I guess a lot of people understand this, the Russians have really mastered social media as far as a way to hack the American mind. You know, Americans have always been into headlines and one-liners and, you know, memes and pictures. And the Russians have like a whole army of people, and the North Koreans too. They understand our culture, and they understand our strengths and our weaknesses, and they can shape ideas. And all of this happens through like social media, like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Facebook is the big one because that's where most of the older people are. The older people with money and the people who vote are on Facebook. And yeah, let's see, I had to write down some notes. And the problem is, like, you know, I get into some of those comments, right? I write back, try to counter the idea, then I get barraged, you know, by, I guess, these professional trolls or something. But it looks like they're AI generated. The names, they always have these names like Dolores Smith or something like this, something very generic sounding, you know, and then you click on their profile, there's not much there. You know, so these are probably all auto-generated, and there's probably some social engineering going on, trying to manipulate in like election. They put out a lot of fake news or false information. You know, like I saw one thing today saying like, oh, MSNBC, CNN, it's all CIA. Yeah, maybe so. I doubt it. I mean, they are pretty biased, but I don't think they're run by the CIA or anything. But I would say like Fox and Breitbart and all this stuff is run by Russia. So it's like the deep state versus Russia, right? You know, so you have the Russians on one side and the deep state, which is probably people like this Beekeeper, you know, trying to keep the society from, screwing itself, you know, because, you know, people will vote for popular ideas without thinking about the long-term consequences. And their minds can easily be manipulated. And then next thing you know, the democracy is dead. So you probably need like a deep state or beekeepers or something to oversee and keep everything in order. I certainly hope so. I hope such an organization exists because, you know, if you promise everyone like a paycheck or, you know, cut their taxes or something, and then you do a whole bunch of other stuff behind their back, you know, buy them off so easy, you know, your society will be chewed up really quick, you know. So yeah, I mean, I don't know the solution to the social media problem, you know, with all these fake accounts and people who aren't doxxed. I think there has to be some laws passed that all social media accounts have to be registered. You know, you have to show your ID, you know, address registration, water bill, you know, and so they're all tied to a real person, because you have all these bots, and this you see a lot in the crypto world on Twitter or X. You know, there are, you know, people hiding out in Nigeria or Russia or somewhere like that, and they're, running scams. But even more dangerous is passing all these false information and propagating it. And you have to counter it. Like, people are always talking about vaccines, but you don't hear about how George Washington forced the Continental Army to vaccinate against smallpox. And these people are almost saying like the Spanish flu never happened. That everything is fake, anything and everything we believe in. I mean, it's very dangerous. And so there has to be some responsibility. So like these social media organizations like Meta, which owns Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, any of them, I think, all the users have to register themselves, be fully doxxed. That would have been really great in the crypto world. We would have avoided a lot of scams if people were required to be doxxed. So I think that would be a good way to stem the problem. And if they don't, and these organizations all host on Amazon, Google Cloud, on the big cloud providers. So there could be laws passed, since these are US-based companies, they have US-based officers, that they cannot host platforms that don't require some identification. Using a credit card or something, and you pay like $1 even, and then you have an ID tied to that account, and then who's spreading all the bull crap, or if you're going to spread bull crap, then at least the people know who you are. So I don't know, I'm for that, because like the free speech, it's when they wrote this amendment in the Constitution was when things were slower, and actually they knew the source because there were very few printers at the time. So if you're going to propagate leaflets and all of this, you had to buy a printing machine. Everyone knew who you were. Print shops were like big operations. They had every letter had to be placed in a press, and it was hard work. It was a very hard work, and now everything is digital and can be reproduced very fast. So, yeah, I think every social media account on a major platform, should be doxxed, and the hosting companies, AWS, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Services, all these big hosting companies, they should be held to a standard that if the social media company is refusing to do KYC on their users, that they don't get hosted. And advertisers, so social media is all powered by advertising. And these advertisers too, if they're advertising on a restricted platform or a sanctioned platform, like Coca-Cola is running ads on, like, let's say Reddit. Let's say we have this regulation and Reddit is not complying. Reddit, you can make anonymous accounts as well and have anonymous names. Then you're in trouble. So as long as you can, hit the money and hit the know your customer, I think we can clean it up and have responsible free speech. And that brings me to another point. Reddit IPO. I'm looking forward to that one. I am going to buy Reddit. I like that social media platform, even though it's a bit woke. But it's got long, meaningful posts. It's like I guess it's a variant of Facebook. People share ideas and have groups in Facebook, but Reddit has really taken it to another level. Like, you can get advice on very specific things like watches, and people share ideas, and there's more involved threads. Facebook is, and you get this karma scores and everything. So it's interesting. I think they're valued at IPO prices at $10 billion. But if you look at what like Facebook and Twitter was worth, Twitter was like sold at $53 billion, and Facebook is like $1 trillion company. So if this thing is like 10 billion, there's at least a 5x. I think there's a 5x opportunity in this over the next couple of years, because they'll use the money to grow. But it could fizzle. It could be like Pinterest. Pinterest was going good for a while. I think people made money on the IPOs, but I don't know. Pinterest is, I guess it's there. It's got its users. It's got its followers, but it's not prolific like Facebook. Like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know how else to solve the social media problem. I mean, I suppose it would push all the fake news people to Telegram or something that's unregulated, but again, you have to go after the cloud hosting, like what they did with Parler. AWS took them down. I mean, then they had to go to Russia to get hosting. And then you lose legitimacy when, you have to work with the Russians to do your hosting, so, and you lose advertisers, so it's, yeah, I think that's what we got to do, because the social media is like, our free speech is being used against us, and not everyone takes the time to really dig into the issues or really understand if what's being said is true or not. Like they're all saying, like here, like, right, Ukraine is stealing all the money and all that. It's really, there has been some fraud, but nothing more than like what was in Iraq or Afghanistan. But quite honestly, most of the money is being paid to the Allies to reimburse them for giving all their old weapons to Ukraine. That's really what's happening, is the Allies are dumping all their, obsolete, basically all their garbage here, and the Ukrainians are actually making use of it, really good use, better than anyone ever thought. And then they get reimbursed. So, it's really, so all that money ends up coming back to the U.S. anyway. It's not so crazy as they would like us to know, and it's really hard to beat the noise when you have a whole army of, Russian trolls, North Korean trolls, Iranian trolls, constantly, posting and bombarding. So there has to be some controls here so that, we get both sides of the story, in equal volume, in the same amount of volume, because, one person like myself, 286 followers, and, and then I'm up against all this, Russian sponsored, bots and traders, like all these Americans living in Russia. They've got like financial backing from the Kremlin, and they can promote themselves, and I don't really care for that. This is just more my journal. I hope some historian sees this one day and understands how it was in these times. Hopefully YouTube will still be around and all the servers will be around or something, but I think so. But anyway, I'm going to the gym, barefoot running on the treadmill, squats, pull-ups. I got to keep in shape, because when my daughter starts walking, it's a whole new ball game, a whole new level of alertness. Then they get themselves in trouble real quick. And physical fitness is the key to staying alert. You can handle sleep deprivation and all these other things much better. But anyway, that's all I got. Take care.